Hello and welcome to this episode of Community Connections, airing right here on OROMIA11. I am your host, Anna Orr, and today's guest is Nadvia Davis. She is here as a children's author. She's talking about her two brand new books that are out. We're talking about a little bit of work in the community and some special things that may help your scholars navigate this upcoming school year. This is going to be a wonderful episode you won't want to miss. Nadvia, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
We are so excited to be talking to you. I was just looking at some of the information that you sent over in regards to your two amazing books. And I said to myself, I'm really excited to talk to people, talk to you and share with our viewers what is on the horizon for their kids when it comes to the world of literacy.
Yeah, there's a lot.
You are talking about reading and you're talking about math. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but it seems to be quite tough to get the little people in my neck of the woods to pay attention to anything school related during these summer months.
Yes, it is. It can be a challenge for parents or members of like the village that are helping summer camps and all those things that are going on, but it's not impossible. I like to tell people that sometimes it's about how you engage them with the literacy. So one of the things I like to do if I'm at a read aloud is to kind of have them interact with you, right? Try to make it so that it's, bring it down to their level, that there are things that they like to do. Hey, do you like this type of cereal like I use? Okay, what's your favorite kind of cereal? Kind of spark a conversation first and then kind of get them into the subject matter or the lesson or the educational component that you want to share.
I think the way that you're tackling reading and math, which we know are such core subjects for education, it really helps make it fun.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like we're prepping for a standardized test or we're cramming for something so serious, but we can start to talk about some things. And these books have really started to help. Now, the first one you have is Grant Practices Math with Manners.
Yeah.
Talk to me what led to you writing this book.
Yeah, so really it's based on a true story that my nephew and I had at Trader Joe's. It's a true experience. And he got some money from my sister, his mother, and it was a $5 bill. And we were checking out at Trader Joe's and he wanted, if you know anything about Trader Joe's, they have those little ledges that have like mints and like gift cards up there. And at one point they used to, well, they still have the chocolates and the candies. And he wanted to buy one of those. And I knew he had money from his mom. So I said, if you do the math right, you can get it. So he took out the $5 bill and then he looked at how much it cost and started counting on his fingers. These are all elements in the book, the same counting on the fingers. And he did the math. And there was a lady ahead of me getting her groceries. And she said, I should do that with my kids. Like, why don't I have them like do math in the store? And that was really what triggered the idea for the book. It was just an experience, a real life experience I had with my nephew. And I thought I could write about this.
Now, what does your nephew think about being depicted in these books now, and you having the beautiful opportunity of going across the state talking to people about his experience with math?
That's a great question. You can laugh about it now because when he was 7 and I wrote my first one, it was great. He loved it. He, kind of carried around and promoted. He's a teenager now, so not quite as cool as having it, but he likes that he's depicted in it. He likes that the little boy looks like him. He was always very curious about like, man, which picture did you use for the illustrator? So he likes it. He's really good. Like I said, as he's gotten older, he's excited. And then of course he wants to know when's another one coming out because he's like, I can maybe do something with it. Now he's also asking about royalties. Now he's a teenager. He knows about like royalties and things like that. But I try to keep him in the loop knowing that he is the main subject. Let him know kind of a little bit about the process in case he wants to write his own book one day.
Now, are you the only writer in your family, or is this something that has kind of always been on your heart? Like, what led you to decide these are two books that I'm going to put out?
Yeah, so as far as I know, I'm the only writer. I'm sure we probably have some other writers in the family, like poetry or things like that. And I kind of knew I wanted to write children's books, maybe probably like my senior year of undergrad. And then I went abroad, and I think that's when I was starting to define like what genre, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to do novels, short stories. And I thought, in my mind, I thought children's books would be easier because I'm like, oh, how hard can it be? They're not very long. It turns out it's quite the opposite. Writing children's books when you're an adult is a lot harder because you have to put yourself in the frame of mind of a child. But it worked out well in my case because I had a nephew who would tell me his ideas and would say different phrases or things like that. And he used rhyme scheme, which is prevalent in both of my books. So I thought, okay, these are all elements I can kind of incorporate into the books.
Now, I wanted to talk about your journey to becoming a children's author because I really believe that representation matters.
Absolutely.
And that if we can see ourselves in these different spaces, then we can start to think about where else we can go. So I'm sure someone is going to watch this and say, I have a book in my heart or something on my brain that I feel like could improve what we have right now as books go, or educating kids or talking about these type of topics. And I want them to feel like it is possible. So that's why I was asking you kind of what led for you to want to put these books in place. Now, I did a little bit of homework before today's episode. I went to Target and I looked in the area where they had educational books.
That's one of my favorite things to
And
do.
I didn't see a lot of books that looked like children that look like you and I, reflected. And I found that to be disheartening. There was a few, but I didn't see a lot of them. And I will say this, I did go to the front and start putting the books the few that I did see, because I think it's really important that we see ourselves reflected in every avenue. But for you, how did you go from witnessing that and then starting to put these out and then saying to yourself, I think these two subject matters, math and reading, what led to that focus? I know that you had that beautiful interaction with your nephew at the store, but reading is very pertinent for us, and it's the core for so many educational things for us.
Yeah, I love that you're asking about that. I will say finding more children's literature with brown and black people on the cover or featured as the main character is on the rise. It still has a long way to go. But again, I was very intentional about that. I know for me, I chose the subjects math first because that was actually kind of a challenge for me growing up. In high school, it got a little better, but I want to say, beyond trigonometry, I was like, well, math is not my strong suit. I would say that. So I wanted to start with a subject that I heard a lot of my friends and their children saying that they were still having a hard time with. And I also like to preface in my book, it's not a math workbook. It is a story about math, and it has one math problem in it, just to be clear with that, but still really helpful at the elementary level. But again, it's still a subject that I think a lot of people struggle with in some avenues. So I know we have a lot more resources now. I know I'm a big fan of the library. They have homework help and things like that to help support that subject matter. But that's how I kind of chose that. And then reading, I enjoy reading a little bit more. I thought it was a subject that I excelled at. I loved my English classes growing up. I had an English minor in college. So I thought this would be like the next best subject to focus on. Again, also one of the things my nephew was into at one point, now he's kind of reading comic books, a little bit different than like some of the other books, but still reading, nonetheless, finding something that he enjoys to read. So I thought this is just like the next best subsequent subject to focus on.
I think that's very true. I love to hear that he's still reading and that he's finding what works for him. That is my encouragement to everyone that is watching this. You may not like the type of books that you were made to read as a child or in school, but please make sure that you find out what works for you as far as reading goes. There are all different kinds of mediums and opportunities for you to explore. Now, you spoke about going to the library, and you have a current partnership taking place with the library system. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Yeah,
so in recent collaboration, I grew up going to the library as well as a child, and someone approached me and they mentioned, well, gosh, if I don't have the resources or the funds to purchase your book, it would be nice to get them at the library. And I wasn't really sure how to go about that, if I could be honest. other than stopping into a library location. And actually both across the Twin Cities, both public library systems have been very good. And they basically told me kind of the process and the steps and how I would have to submit my titles to have the catalogs reviewed. But yeah, most recently, this month, I had the collaboration go live. So now I can say publicly that I have both of my books in the public library system and available and accessible for families to borrow for free.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's a journey, but you know, through it all, I wouldn't change anything about the process. And there's always going to be steps you have to take, hurdles you have to jump through that kind of remind you of like, okay, you know what? I'm doing the right thing. I'm going back to that parent that asked me about, well, if I don't have the resources. And I'm a firm believer of just because you don't have the resources doesn't mean you shouldn't have access to, especially literature. So it was important for me to have this kind of come full circle and have the books in the library system.
As you're talking about this, I'm imagining in my mind seeing young black and brown boys and girls going in there and picking up the book and seeing themselves reflected on the front. Yeah. Or sitting down and kind of just looking at the pictures because it really is beautifully illustrated. Can you talk to me just a little bit about how you worked with your illustrator to do some of this? Because I think it's so beautiful to just look through, even if you can't read. My niece and nephew are very young right now, and my niece is learning to read. She's 5. But I'm like, I can see them sitting on the floor and just turning the pages because it's so vibrant.
Absolutely. That's one of the best visuals that I love, though, actually. Or you talked about going to Target. I do that often. I go in there and I sometimes see kids sitting in the aisles, and it just warms my heart in so many ways. I get pictures sometimes from people that have purchased it and they're like, my kid brought this book in the car and fell asleep. So it's like really cute to see them holding the book like over their head or on their bed reading. So very special. But I will say that the process of partnering with my illustrator, he's BIPOC. He's actually in the Philippines. But it was important for me to also work with somebody who was of color and could kind of understand the representation that I was trying to illustrate in the pictures. The first book took me 1.5 years to write, and then I shaved off 6 months with the second book, so it took me 1 year. But really, a lot of our partnership was over email. We weren't using special programs. We use Adobe, standard software. And he sketched most of the pages, at least the covers for sure. We made sure those were sketched first before we added color to them. So that's kind of just like a little sneak preview or a look into like how the process worked for partnering with the illustrator to bring the illustrations to life.
Now, we've talked a little bit about the second book, but I want to give people the secondary title. It is Davis Practices Reading with Risk.
Yeah.
What had you decide on that title?
Yeah, well, so if you probably didn't already pick up on, these are very different. I wanted to have 2 very unorthodox titles on purpose. This is also very intentional. Math with Manners. These are 2 separate subjects. Reading with Risk. 2 separate subjects again. I chose the title for the second one. Well, let me just start by saying my nephew has a hyphenated last name. He's Davis Grant. So we did Grant for the first character and then Davis for the second one.
I love that.
Again, all elements tied back to my nephew. And I wanted to demonstrate that children at the elementary level can absorb so much more than we know. They can digest information at a rapid rate. So I wanted to put 2 subjects in front of them instead of just 1. And I wanted them to be different and then also show how they could correlate in a story, which is kind of nice. So that's how the title came about. The risk piece is also tied to the public library. What are the risks that are associated when you borrow a book from the library? If you lose it, if you rip a page, if you, heaven forbid, I don't know. Those are the main reasons I would say. Lose it, rip a page, you damage it and bring it back. There used to be charges associated with that. That has since changed a little bit. But I wanted to have children understand there are risks that come along with borrowing this book. You know, yes, you get to have it for free, but it's a privilege, right? So those are the things I wanted to kind of explain to the children in the second book.
Now, For those that are interested in purchasing your books and they're saying, I'm not anywhere near a Minneapolis or St. Paul public library, but I do want to buy these books. I think it's something that should become a part of our private library. Where can people buy Grant Practices Math with Manners and Davis Practices Reading with Risk?
Well, if they are online shoppers, you can go on Amazon. They are available, accessible on Amazon. If you want to shop local, Baby Cakes Bookstore, they're Bookmobile, Black owned. She has copies. I would also, if you're in the St. Paul area, Red Balloon Bookshop carries my books in person if you want to go buy it in person. But those would probably be the main places I'd recommend shopping. And if you want to reach out to me, my email is on Amazon. It's accessible. You can contact me, or my social media account, which is mn.author.nd on Instagram. I try to get back to most of the messages on there, so you can feel free to reach out.
I think that's wonderful. Now, you talked about the partnership that you have with the library system, but what has been the community response to these two amazing books?
Oh my gosh, it's been overwhelmingly great. It's farther exceeds my expectations, if I can be honest. When I wrote the first one, it was really just, can I do this? Can I see what it's like? I want this to just be a keepsake for my family, really. And then that's when more people started saying, when's the next one coming out? And what are you going to do? And have you thought about going to schools and doing read alouds? Have you thought about being out in the public? So really, when I say it exceeds my expectations, what started out as just a very small idea has blossomed into this beautiful array of opportunities that I couldn't be more excited about. And I'm just glad that the community has embraced me with open arms and loves that I'm local. When they see me out, it's not unusual by any means. It's very much I love what you're doing. Keep up the great work. That's so awesome that you have those books. We can't wait to see what's next for you. It's all really positive affirmations about the work being a children's author.
Now, share with me where you see yourself going next. Because they say if you can do one, you can do two. If you can do two, you can pull off three.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I would like to write a third. I can't say for sure. But yeah, I think good things come in threes. So I feel like maybe one more to have a series of three would be nice. Mm-hmm. But honestly, I might want to take this show on the road, see what I can do about getting some exposure outside of Minnesota, even if it's just Illinois or Wisconsin, just kind of bordering states. Oh, and I actually have been to Wisconsin, so I have to take that back. Okay. But maybe see how these stories and the message in the books can impact those outside of Minnesota. So maybe a few more read alouds, more opportunities out of state while I'm working on a third.
I think that'd be wonderful for you. Now, you talked about doing the read alouds, but you have one coming up in the month of August. Can you please share with our viewers where they can connect with you in person and hear you read some of these amazing books?
Absolutely, yes. So I will be at Sumner Library on Ocean Memorial Highway in North Minneapolis on August 9th. It's a Sunday from 3 to 4 p.m. reading both of my children's books, answering questions. We also have an activity for the elementary students that I'll be participating in. So I would highly encourage, if you are available or if you don't have anything on the calendar after church, to come over to the library and join us for the read alouds.
Now, lastly, share with me what is something that you want readers to take away when they close the last page of this book. Of either one of these books, excuse me.
Okay. Oh, man. That's a great question. I want them to feel empowered by what they read and to feel like I can see myself in this situation. That's what I would want them to take away. I know what it's like to go to a grocery store. I know what it's like if you visit or frequent the public libraries and what that experience can be like. But just to feel empowered, wow, that was really good. I feel the message that she took away. Yeah, that would probably be my the feeling I would want them to have is empowered, maybe excited about what they just read. Those would be the main things.
I think that's beautiful. Nadvia Davis, it has been wonderful talking to you about the amazing Davis Practice Reading with Risk and Grant Practices Math with Manners.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of Community Connections. I just want you to take a second and hold up both books so that people can know what to look for when they're shopping in the store or rather they are in the library and they are trying to find both of these amazing books for the scholars in their network. Special congratulations and a special thank you to George Franco, the person that illustrated both of these books, like you said, on Adobe, but also sketched both of these.
Yeah, he did a really good job. Talk about pulling ideas out of someone's head and bringing them to life. Especially on the second one. I always like to show the progression too, because when I wrote this first one, again, a lot of it was trial and error. And then by the second one, you can really, even just in these two images, you can see how it went from being so small to like expanded, just using more of that space on the page to cover. Yeah, we changed the font. We went over like page layout. It was so many fun things that we had a chance to talk about, but there's been growth between these two books, that's for sure.
Can I just say, since we're sitting here as two African-American women, I love the difference in the haircuts for both. Because we know that's a big thing, and that's important in our culture. So I love that that's being represented in both books and that there's different variations for both young men.
I love that you pointed that out because that was also very intentional. My nephew likes to get his hair cut.
Yes.
So we made sure the shading was more prominent in the second one for sure. We got it pretty good on the first one too. It wasn't too far off, but because they're animated, you can do what you can. Adobe isn't limited when it comes to like airbrushing and shading and things like that. But we definitely work within the tools and like the capacity of the software for sure.
So to all our future authors, please make sure that you check out Adobe and start to get familiar with that, because you too can make your book happen and can bring things into fruition if you learn what's available to you that may not cost you as much money as you think to make your book that you have in your brain or in your heart a reality. Unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for this episode of Community Connections, airing right here on OROMIA11. Thank you, Nadvia Davis, for coming and joining us on this episode and talking to us about both of your dynamic books. For those of you at home watching this, make sure that you stop by Amazon in person if you are in St. Paul and or Minneapolis. Visit your local library, stop in and pick up both of these books. And if you can, catch the read aloud that is taking place at Sumner Library in August on Sunday afternoon. It is the 9th, correct?
Correct.
For people that are interested, make sure that you stop by there, say hello to her, and hopefully get your book signed by a local author that may be heading abroad very, very soon. As always, I am your host, Anna Orr. This has been Community Connections, and I look forward to connecting again with you soon.